What if I told you that the most dangerous system, alarming our health, our environment, and even our future, is hidden behind the packaged meat in your supermarket? Every steak, chicken nugget, or sausage may seem like a dull meal, but hiding behind each one is a system more lethal than most people could even imagine. Livestock farming today is not just about raising animals to go onto the dinner plate. It is a big, high-volume business of profit, efficiency, and speed. But the glittering facade conceals a grim reality, a reality of cruelty, pollution, and echoes that resonate across our world. Now we're going undercover into the unseen threats of contemporary livestock production, from environmental degradation to epidemic disease, ethical exploitation to human oppression. And we're going to expose secrets the meat industry doesn't want you to know. That's this wake-up call we all deserve. Contemporary livestock farming, or factory farming, began in the mid-20th century and had only one goal: to produce more people to eat as inexpensively and as rapidly as possible. Innovation eventually gave over to intensification. Farm animals no longer were graze-raised or raised on small farms, but within enormous industrial barns, wherein efficiency superseded compassion. There are thousands of animals crammed together in small enclosures, with nowhere to turn. Chickens are stacked in high cages like warehouses. Pigs are confined in crates where they can't even turn. Cows, removed from their calves within hours after giving birth, are milked day and night. It is mechanized, nearly inhuman. It's not farming, it's production, and the animals are the product. This system may have solved one problem, starvation, but replaced it with infinite others. Behind the veneer of abundance lies a system based on pain, pollution, and hidden costs that echoes throughout the social fabric. It is a runaway train fueled by lives, human and animal, and the consequences are too immense to ignore. Where once existed a farmer-animal relationship, now there exists an industrialized trade. The animals are bred solely for production, their lives quantified in margins, not welfare. Compassion is a waste along the way, since every square of soil is geared up for maximum production. It's no longer people feeding, it's machine feeding. Perhaps the most negative impact of factory farming animals is that it has a huge impact on the environment. Few are aware that agriculture is the source of the majority of the world's greenhouse gas emissions, more than all ships, planes, and trucks combined on the planet. For instance, cows emit methane, a gas more than 25 times as powerful in heating our atmosphere than carbon dioxide. Put that alongside the nearly billion cattle across the globe, and you start to get some idea of the scale of the issue. And then there's methane, but it doesn't end there. Rainforests, particularly in the Amazon, are being ravaged at a remarkable rate for grazing purposes or the production of soy, not for people, but for animal feed. It takes the loss of one tree to mean less carbon sequestered, more biodiversity lost, and an irreparable hit to the planet's lungs. Water resources come under threat as well. It takes more than 1,800 gallons of water to produce 1 pound of beef. Manure, antibiotics, and growth hormones from such farms contaminate rivers and oceans, creating dead zones where no life is possible. Air, water, and earth all are under strain from sheer numbers of factory farming. Poisonous manure lakes spill over into surrounding towns during heavy rain, and chemical fertilizers upset the delicate nutrient balance of our soil. The price of industrial meat in terms of the environment is enormous and increasing. Our ecosystems are crying out for mercy. Climate scientists remind us that unless we make a radical change away from animal agriculture, we won't be able to fulfill global climate targets. The destruction isn't contained or country-specific. It's a ripple effect due to changed weather patterns, food webs, and ecosystem health everywhere. What we decide to have for dinner tonight maps the world we'll be leaving behind tomorrow. We are poisoning our earth not because we need to, but because we refuse to modify the way we eat. In addition to the environmental catastrophe that factory farming allows for, this system presents a massive danger to human health. The crowding and stressful conditions of the farms create the perfect breeding ground for bacteria and viruses. Viral threats such as swine flu, bird flu, and potentially even pandemics in the future are cultivated in these environments. Experts have been sounding the alarm for many years about the source of the next large epidemic not being a jungle, but a crowded wall of a chicken or pig factory farm. But of all the threats, the most ominous and deadly is antibiotic resistance. Antibiotics are fed to farms in order to keep animals in dirty, crowded space, not to treat disease, but to keep it at bay. It creates antibiotic-resistant superbugs, bacteria that are no longer susceptible to medicine. Already, antibiotic-resistant infections kill over 1.2 million individuals annually, and that figure is growing rapidly. If we become unable to treat infections, even a minor cut or procedure may prove fatal. Most concerning is how deeply this danger has penetrated our lives already. Antimicrobial resistance has been recognized by the World Health Organization as among the top 10 most significant worldwide public health threats. But the overwhelming majority of consumers are not aware that their dinner tonight could be the cause. When we treat meat as cheap and disposable, we gamble with our health. New studies have found antibiotic-resistant bacteria on meat products in supermarket chains. That is, the risk isn't solely in the farms, it's on our plates. The longer we allow this to continue, the more vulnerable we become to infection that cannot be treated. This isn't a problem for the future, it's happening now. We all grew up on the tranquil shores of farms, emerald rolling hills, scarlet barns, happy creatures grazing freely. But life couldn't be more cruel. Animals are treated as living beings, not commodities in factory farms. Broiler chickens develop so rapidly that their skeletons can't support carrying their bodies around. Cattle are raised again and again and again in cast iron cages hardly larger than they are. Cows mourn their calves, taken away from them so that milk production can be maintained. These animals experience fear, pain, and distress, yet are deprived of even the most basic gestures of kindness. And much of it takes place behind closed doors, out of public view. Whistleblowers who try to expose these abuses can be threatened with suits or silenced by so-called ag-gag laws. The truth is, if slaughterhouses had glass walls, many of us would be reluctant to eat meat again. There have been some exposés that showed ghastly videos, animals being raped, killed without anesthetic, and, over many hours, dying in their cages. They're not outliers, they're structural components of industrial agriculture. But because it's hidden behind literally sterilized packaging and catchy advertising, most of us unwittingly subsidize this cruelty with every shopping decision. This has nothing to do with being vegan or vegetarian. It's about acknowledging suffering where it happens and not turning a blind eye. Walk into any grocery store and you'll find aisles filled with meat, cheap, abundant, and accessible. But that low-cost label doesn't even come close to considering the actual cost. Behind every cheap burger or chicken wing are billions of tax dollars propping up the industry, millions to remediate environmental degradation, and additional healthcare costs due to diet disease and antibiotic resistance. Industrial livestock agriculture most reliably depends on government subsidies. Without them, the price would accurately reflect the damage they cause. But because the damage is hidden in contaminated rivers, sick towns, and killed animals, we still manage to believe that cheap meat is not hurting us. When you tally the real cost, from tax-subsidized subsidies to cleaning up the environment and stressed healthcare systems, the price skyrockets. That $4 chicken breast is economical, but society pays for it in higher taxes, higher insurance rates, and long-term environmental damage. Discount meat is the most costly lie ever sold. In truth, we're all paying the price. We just don't see it on the receipt. It is not just the animals and the planet that pay the price for this system. The people employed in the slaughterhouses and factory farms toil in sweat-inducing, dangerous conditions. Long hours and poor wages with daily contact with death, shit, and gore take their toll physically and psychologically Immigrants and minorities are the ones at the bottom of the pile. Someone has got to do the dirty work no one will talk about. And those neighborhoods next to the factory farms are not healthy either. There's this awful smell of ammonia and manure. Groundwater is contaminated. Respiratory issues and chronic diseases are common. They're typically minority, low-income communities, and they're left to endure an industry that doesn't care about people. Slaughterhouse workers typically get PTSD, a high incidence of injury, and respiratory issues due to exposure to harmful fumes. Residents of the neighborhoods around the slaughterhouses get headaches, nausea, and skin rashes, all signs of exposure to industrial waste. The people who raise, process, and live near our food are often those with the least power and the most to lose. Factory farming doesn't just exploit animals, it exploits humans too. This wasn't the way we used to farm. People kept animals in small, pasture-based systems for thousands of years. But cities expanded, and urbanization spread, and our hunger for meat grew. In came the corporations with their offers of efficiency, convenience, and profit. And what did we get? A handful of large corporations now dictate the world's meat supply, deciding how animals are raised, what they eat, and how quickly they arrive on your plate. What started as a means to modernize agriculture has evolved into a corporate-dominated empire with aggressive promotion, government influence, and consolidation. A few firms now determine what we eat and how it's made. Shoppers are given the illusion they enjoy freedom of choice, but secretly, their choices are fabricated and manipulated. Government policy, consumerism, and the lobbying of businesses create a cycle that's hard to break. The more we demand cheap meat, the more they take shortcuts, the more they pack more animals into smaller areas, and the more the system spirals out of control. But it doesn't mean that it can't be modified. There is hope, and there are alternatives. Across the world, farmers are turning to more ethical and sustainable methods of raising animals. Regenerative farming is picking up with freely roaming animals, restored soil, and carbon sequestered, not emitted. Such farms are based on animal welfare, natural balance, and human health. It's not about cutting out animal foods overnight, it's about realizing their effect. Reducing meat even slightly will save carbon, save water, and save animals suffering. If we all reduce slightly, the impact is huge. The future of food is in our hands, one choice at a time. Meanwhile, plant-based diets are on the rise. From oat milk to lentil burgers, there are now more delicious, budget-friendly choices than ever. Reducing meat, even a few days a week, can be a rescue for the planet and animals. And then there's what comes next. Lab-grown meat or cultured meat, actual meat, produced without slaughter. It's just beginning, but it's the promise of a revolution. Something that we do know is this: we don't have to continue doing things the way we've always done them. A better food system is possible, one that nourishes us without destroying everything else. Now that you know the truth, what will you do with it? We can't plead ignorance anymore. We can no longer look away. The secret threats of intensive livestock production are now out in the open. Climate change, superbugs, animal suffering, environmental damage, all tied to what we put on our plates. But transformation doesn't start with giant movements. It starts with you. Start small. Eat plant-based foods more frequently. Buy from ethical local farms. Read the labels. Ask questions. Pass on this video. Start a conversation. Each bite you eat is a vote for the world you want to create. It won't change overnight, but with enough of us, it will. Because once you see the truth, you can never unsee it. And when we do act on it, we start creating a better world. It begins with awareness. It begins with choice. It begins with you. Subscribe for more. Comment below your thoughts. And don't forget to share this video with your friends and family. Thank you for watching.